Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by fields and rivers, there lived a young man named Sagar. From the day he could remember, his life was filled with hardship. No matter how hard he worked, happiness never seemed to stay with him. Misfortunes followed him like a shadow. His crops would fail, debts piled up, and peace at home was rare. Often, he would sit alone under a tree, staring at the sky, wondering, what sin have I committed in my past life that I must suffer like this now? This question burned in his heart, but no one could answer. One day, Sagar heard about a wise monk who lived in an ashram far away from the village. People said this monk had deep knowledge and could guide lost souls back to happiness. Desperate for answers, Sagar decided to meet him. He set out at dawn, walking through fields, crossing streams, and climbing hills until he finally reached the ashram by evening. The ashram was simple yet peaceful. Birds chirped in the trees, and a soft breeze carried the scent of incense. Sagar saw the monk sitting under a large tree, speaking to a small group of people. They listened with folded hands and bowed heads. When the teaching ended, Sagar approached with respect, bowed, and said, "Guru Dev, may I ask you something that has troubled my heart for many days?" The monk smiled warmly and replied, "Ask, child. Whatever is in your heart, speak without fear." Sagar took a deep breath and asked, "Master, people say feeding a dog brings blessings. But how can such a simple act carry such power? What good comes from feeding a stray dog a piece of bread?" The monk's eyes glowed with kindness as he answered, "Sagar, if a man truly understands the blessings hidden in this act, he will never suffer again. Feeding a dog is not merely giving food. It is an offering to life itself. There are 8 great blessings that follow those who show mercy to a hungry dog. These blessings not only bring joy in this life, but also pave the way for liberation after death." The monk paused, then continued, "Sadly, humans often curse using the name of a dog, belittling the very creature that serves mankind with loyalty. People insult one another by saying dog, but do they realize that this animal bears pain silently and still guards the homes of those who scorn it? Is a dog's life truly so worthless? No. Let me tell you a story, and you will understand. The tale of the black dog. Long ago, there was a black dog, small and frail. He wandered the village streets, starving and thirsty. Every house he approached, every door he sat by, he was chased away. No one offered him even a crumb. Hungry and trembling, he wandered endlessly until one day he reached the edge of the village, where a hermit lived in a solitary ashram near a river. The dog, with eyes full of pain, approached the hermit and spoke in a voice that only the wise can hear. "Holy One, I am starving. I have been to every house in the village, but no one gave me even a piece of bread. I came to you because you seem kind and learned. Please, have mercy. Give me something to eat." The hermit looked at the dog with compassion and asked, "Is it true that not a single soul in the village gave you food?" The dog nodded sadly. "No one. People do not believe my suffering. But let me tell you my story, so you may understand my pain." The hermit sat quietly, signaling the dog to continue. The dog spoke, "Humans think we are lesser beings. We have no homes, no clothes, no comfort. We do not know how to work for our food like you. We wander under the scorching sun, the freezing cold, and the pouring rain. We cannot read or write, nor do we speak your language. Yet, like you, we feel hunger, we feel pain, and yes, we even cry. In this one thing, we are your equals. When we are hurt, we bleed. When we are hungry, we ache. And when we lose those we love, we grieve." The dog's voice trembled as he recalled his earliest days. "When I was born, my eyes and ears were closed. There were no celebrations, no songs, no joy at my birth. My mother, whom you call a stray bitch, nursed 5 of us in a pile of dry grass. My 4 brothers were brown and strong, but I was the smallest and weakest, black as night. Our mother had to fight hunger every day to feed us. Sometimes she went without food, trembling with weakness, just to nurse us." The dog's eyes grew wet. "My mother guarded the village day and night. She chased away wild animals and thieves, never letting harm come to the villagers. But did anyone thank her? Did anyone give her food for her loyalty? No. She was often beaten with sticks when she tried to grab a morsel to survive. Even as hunger burned her belly, she protected the very people who despised her. The hermit listened intently, his heart heavy with sorrow for the creature's suffering. The dog continued. One harsh winter night, rain poured, hail fell, and icy winds blew. My 3 brothers froze to death. My mother howled in despair, but no one came. No one cared. Humans cannot feel our pain because it is not their own. Only 2 of us remained, and our mother grew even more protective of us. This was just the beginning of the dog's long and painful tale, a tale that would open Sagar's eyes to truths he had never known. The dog took a deep breath and went on with his story. His voice, though frail, carried the weight of countless sorrows. One day, there was a grand feast in the house of the village landlord, Thakur Sahib. The air was filled with the smell of sweets and rich food. Guests filled the courtyard, and laughter echoed everywhere. My mother, weak with hunger, approached the house again and again, hoping someone would take pity on her. But every time, they drove her away as if she were a curse. Not one person thought to toss her even a crust of bread. Why was their compassion so small? Was one piece of bread too much to spare? The dog's voice broke, but he continued. When the servants became busy serving the guests, my mother crept close to the food. She only wanted to take a small piece to survive. But the moment she reached for the bread, someone saw her. They screamed, and men came running with sticks. My mother panicked and ran, only to find herself trapped. There was no way out. In desperation, she leapt over the very tables where the guests were eating just to escape. The hermit listened silently, his eyes closed as if feeling the pain himself. The dog lowered his head, remembering the cruel aftermath. The guests were horrified. They stopped eating, claiming the food had been defiled because a dog had jumped over it. Some argued, saying, "She didn't touch the food. She only ran past." Others said, "In the cities, people keep dogs inside their homes and feed them. This is no sin." But the wealthy men's voices were stronger. They insisted the food was spoiled. Finally, they decided to distribute the food to the poor, saying it was no longer fit for themselves. For the first time, my mother ate until her stomach was full. That meal was like heaven to her. But her happiness was short-lived. The dog's eyes darkened as he spoke. The landlord, furious that his feast had been ruined, came with a stick and beat my mother savagely. She screamed in agony, but no one stopped him, not until she was almost lifeless. When at last they pulled him away, she crawled back to us, covered in wounds. That night she told us, "This is the price of being a dog in this world. Even when you harm no one, you are hated." The hermit's heart trembled at the cruelty of men. The pain deepens, the dog continued. Later, a Brahmin came to the village and stayed near the outskirts. He cooked his meal, simple lentils and bread, on an open fire. When he went to fetch water, my mother, trembling with hunger, saw the dough he had left. Believing it was abandoned, she took a bite. The Brahmin returned, saw her eating, and fell into despair. He cried, "Why, O God, have you sent this cursed creature to ruin my food? I have been starving for 2 days, and now this." Villagers told him, "This is the same dog that spoiled the landlord's feast." Their words fueled his anger. He beat my mother with his stick until she could barely walk. She staggered for weeks, her body broken. The dog's voice grew heavy. That day I realized something. Humans are quick to judge and slow to understand. They only see what we take, not what we endure. We guard their homes, we chase away threats, we keep watch at night, but they only remember us when we are in their way. And yet, despite their cruelty, we remain loyal. We love them even when they hate us. Is this not the greatest devotion? The hermit's eyes were moist. He asked softly, "What happened to your mother after that?" The dog replied, "She never fully healed. She still tried to care for us, teaching us to avoid humans who throw stones and sticks. But her strength faded. One stormy night, she lay beside us and whispered, "Be strong, my children. Forgive them, for they do not understand our suffering." By morning, she was gone. The hidden truth. The dog paused for a long while, then spoke with quiet strength. We dogs have no one but humans to depend on. We guard their homes, we protect their fields, and we even sacrifice our lives for them. Yet, they rarely see our worth. But those who feed us, even a single piece of bread, earn something far greater than they can imagine. They earn blessings that follow them forever. The hermit looked at the dog and said, "You have spoken the truth of life itself. Those who show kindness to the weakest creatures are closest to the divine." Then the dog said, "Yes, master. People do not realize it, but feeding a dog brings them countless benefits. When someone offers bread to a hungry dog, they are feeding not just an animal, but life itself. In return, the universe rewards them." The monk, who had been silent all this time, finally turned to Sagar and said, "Now you see, child, why this simple act holds so much power. The 8 blessings of feeding a dog are not superstition. They are truths woven into the fabric of life. When you feed a dog, you honor life, you remove suffering, and in return, suffering leaves you." Sagar's heart was already lighter, but the monk had more to teach. He said, "Listen carefully. I will now tell you about these 8 blessings, so you may understand how they work." And with that, the monk began to reveal the sacred secrets. The monk sat cross-legged beneath the shade of an ancient tree. His voice, calm and steady, flowed like the river nearby. Sagar sat before him, eager to absorb every word. The dog, too, remained still, his eyes reflecting quiet wisdom as if he already knew what was to be spoken. The monk began, "Sagar, the universe is built upon the law of cause and effect. Every act of kindness creates ripples that return to the giver. Feeding a hungry dog may seem small, but it carries the power to change destiny itself. Why? Because it is an act of pure compassion, help given to one who cannot repay you. That is why the blessings it brings are immense." Sagar leaned forward, listening closely. 1. The shadow of Saturn weakens. The monk raised his finger. "The first blessing," he said, "is protection from the negative influence of Shuni, the planet Saturn. When Saturn's shadow falls harshly on a person, misfortune follows, business fails, relationships break, and health declines. But feeding a dog softens this shadow. The act pleases the energies that govern Saturn, reducing its harmful impact. Those who regularly feed dogs find that obstacles clear, and the heaviness that surrounds their lives begins to lift." Sagar's eyes widened. He had heard old villagers whisper about Saturn's wrath, but never knew a simple act could counter it. 2. Luck turns in your favor. The second blessing, the monk continued, is the favor of fortune. A home where bread is shared with dogs is a home where luck dwells. Negative forces that try to enter are pushed away. This is because compassion itself creates a protective shield around the giver. Dogs, as guardians, amplify this energy. They become silent protectors, not only in the physical world, but also in the unseen realm. 3. Goddess Lakshmi smiles upon you. The third blessing is wealth. The monk said softly, "When you feed a dog, you please the goddess of prosperity, Lakshmi. She blesses the house with abundance. Poverty cannot stay long where kindness flows freely. Remember this. When you give with an open hand, the universe fills it again and again." Sagar felt a strange warmth in his heart. The monk's words felt like truth itself. 4. Freedom from debt. The fourth blessing, the monk explained, is release from debt. Many people suffer under the weight of loans and financial burdens. They work endlessly, but the chains remain. Feeding a dog regularly begins to loosen these chains. Why? Because each act of kindness reduces the karmic weight that attracts such burdens. The one who feeds a dog walks lighter, and slowly, debts fall away. 5. Success in business and work. The fifth blessing, the monk said, is growth in one's work. Whether a man tills the soil, runs a shop, or holds a high office, feeding a dog brings smooth progress. just as the dog protects what you give it. The energy of this act protects your efforts and helps them bear fruit. 6. Recovery of lost wealth and increased lifespan. The sixth blessing, the monk declared, is twofold. Lost wealth returns, and life is extended. There are times when opportunities slip away, money is lost, or property vanishes. By feeding dogs, these losses find their way back. Also, compassion lengthens life because it aligns you with the divine flow of existence. Those who show mercy live not only longer, but with fewer regrets. 7. Health and mental strength. The seventh blessing, the monk continued, is good health, both of the body and the mind. A person who feeds dogs finds their health steady and their mind strong. Negative thoughts fade, and they are filled with energy. Even in difficult times, they stay resilient, for kindness nourishes the soul as much as it nourishes the body. 8. The grace of God. Finally, the monk spoke of the greatest blessing. The eighth blessing is the grace of God Himself. For God watches over all beings, man, beast, and bird alike. Those who care for the smallest of creatures earn His favor. His protection covers their family, their home, and their future. Wherever they go, blessings follow. The monk's voice softened to almost a whisper. Sagar, remember this. To feed a dog is to honor the divine spark in all life. When you do so, your life fills with light, and your soul moves closer to liberation. The forgotten tradition, the monk added. In ancient times, families followed a sacred custom. When bread was baked, the first piece was offered to the cow and the last to the dog. This kept the balance of life, ensuring blessings flowed endlessly into the home. But today, people forget. They eat both pieces themselves, and so they invite misfortune without knowing it. Do not forget this law of nature. What you give to others returns to you multiplied. Sagar felt as if a great weight had lifted from his chest. The monk's words were like water to a thirsty soul. He finally understood that happiness was not something to chase, but something to create through compassion. The dog, who had listened quietly, wagged his tail as if in agreement. Sagar bowed deeply and said, Guru Dev, I will never forget your teachings. From this day, I will share my bread with every hungry dog I meet. May I too become worthy of these blessings. The monk smiled. Go, my child, live with kindness, and the universe will always walk with you. But the story was not over. For the true test of Sagar's faith was yet to come, and with it, the final transformation of his life. The monk's teachings stirred something deep within Sagar. The path to happiness was no longer a mystery. It was an act of compassion. That very evening, with the monk's words echoing in his heart, Sagar began his journey back to the village. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the fields, and the world seemed somehow brighter. As he walked, he passed a marketplace where villagers gossiped and complained about their troubles. They were worried about failing crops, mounting debts, and the shadow of illness creeping through their homes. Sagar wanted to tell them about the 8 blessings, but he stayed silent. First, he thought, I must live this truth myself. The first offering. When Sagar reached home, the first thing he did was prepare bread. He remembered the monk's words. The last piece is for the dog. That night, instead of eating every bite, he set aside one piece. He walked to the edge of the village where stray dogs wandered in search of scraps. They approached cautiously, their ribs showing through their fur. Sagar knelt down, held out the bread, and said softly, Come, my friends. This is for you. The dogs sniffed, then wagged their tails and ate eagerly. For the first time in many years, Sagar felt peace bloom in his heart. It was a small act, but it filled him with a sense of purpose. The villagers' days turned into weeks. Sagar continued feeding the dogs every morning and evening. At first, the villagers mocked him. Why waste good bread on animals? They said. You should save that food for yourself. Dogs bring no blessings. But Sagar only smiled and kept to his path. Little by little, the dogs began to follow him through the village. They no longer looked like starving shadows. Their eyes shone, and their tails wagged freely. People noticed how Sagar seemed happier and healthier, as if luck itself walked beside him. The turn of fortune. Soon, strange things began to happen. The crops in Sagar's fields grew better than they had in years. The debts that had chained him for so long were repaid faster than he expected. When storms struck nearby villages, his own home stood unharmed. Even his once troubled heart was now filled with hope. The same villagers who had laughed at him began to whisper, "Could it be true? Does feeding dogs really bring blessings?" One by one, they began setting aside pieces of bread. The village, once cold to stray animals, started to change. Dogs no longer feared sticks and stones. They were greeted with food and gentle hands. The dogs returned. One evening, as Sagar fed the dogs by the river, a black dog appeared from the shadows. His fur was worn, his eyes wise. He approached slowly, and Sagar recognized him. It was the very dog who had spoken to the monk in the old story. The dog looked at Sagar as if to say, "You have understood." Sagar knelt and offered bread with both hands. The dog ate, then licked Sagar's fingers in gratitude. When the meal was done, the dog walked toward the setting sun, pausing to glance back one last time before disappearing into the golden light. Sagar knew he had been blessed. The final lesson. Months later, Sagar returned to the monk to share his experience. He bowed deeply and said, "Gurudev, everything you taught me came true. My life has changed, and so has my village. But tell me, why does such a small act have so much power?" The monk smiled. "Because, Sagar, true power lies not in wealth, nor in force, but in compassion. When you feed a hungry dog, you heal two lives, the dog's body and your own soul. This act breaks the chain of selfishness, allowing divine grace to flow freely. That is why it transforms everything it touches." A legacy of kindness. Sagar continued feeding dogs all his life, and his home remained filled with peace and prosperity. The tradition spread through the village and beyond. Generations later, people still remembered the story of the boy who turned sorrow into joy through the simple gift of bread. The monk's teachings lived on, reminding everyone, the first bread belongs to the cow. The last bread belongs to the dog. To forget this is to invite misfortune. To remember it is to open the gates of blessings. The 8 blessings fulfilled. By the end of his life, Sagar had seen every blessing come true. The shadow of Saturn no longer touched him. Luck followed him like a faithful friend. Goddess Lakshmi filled his home with abundance. His debts vanished, never to return. His work flourished beyond expectation. Lost wealth found its way back, and his days were long and fulfilling. His health remained strong, and his mind stayed clear. Most of all, God's grace was upon him and his family. The story's end, and it's beginning for you. The monk's final words echo to this day. Feed a hungry dog, and you feed your own soul. For in every act of kindness, the divine smiles. And so, the story of Sagar, the monk, and the black dog continues to inspire. Will you two share your bread?